Всем привет! Today we continue working with the extended context for the cases, and at the beginning of the marathon we covered 3 basic contexts for each case, and now we're going into a lot more. And remember, I keep saying at the beginning of these videos, these kind of like extended context videos, that they're very difficult for beginners. And the idea here is not that you watch it and you learn it right away. Even in my classes, I work through these contexts over a period of like several semesters. So it's not kind of like sit down and learn everything kind of thing. What I'm trying to do is to give you kind of like this variety of contexts that come with each case, so you understand the concept of cases better when you're trying to say something or translate something. And last time we worked with the dative case, and I told you that it feels like the dative case is more of like a forgotten case. And accusative is definitely not a forgotten case, but I think it's a very confusing case because both in forms, and I'll show you where it does it in context, it kind of switches between being replaced by other cases or having its own forms. So remember when we looked at the chart with the endings, for accusative, we don't actually have the endings. For masculine, we have a rule, like if it's inanimate, it's the same as nominative. If it's animate, it's the same as genitive. So it's kind of like an undecided case, which makes it a little bit tricky to figure out, but hopefully, we'll get through it and you'll understand this case better. This will probably be the longest video because we will cover a lot of context for the accusative case. I will try to keep it under 30 minutes, but it's probably going to be hard to do. Anyways, let's start.
If you like it, please click like. If it's useful, drop a line. If you love it, hit subscribe. Like me, подпишись и комментарий напиши.
Okay, so here is our chart, and today we're working with винительный падеж. Винительный падеж or accusative. And винить, the verb винить, means to accuse somebody. So whoever we accuse is being accused and is the direct object of the accusations. So as always, we will look at the contexts, we will look at the examples in Russian, and we'll look at English translations or more examples or more information. As I said multiple times, some things are gonna be more for like high intermediate advanced learners, but it still will be good to kind of like wrap your mind around what's coming once you proceed through the stages of learning Russian. Okay, our first context is something that's already familiar to you, so I'm not going to be speaking too much about it. It's the direct object. So when the action is done directly or experienced directly by someone or someone. So again, let's take a look at the English examples. I'm reading a book. The book is being read by me. He's fixing the car is being fixed by him. We're buying the food is being bought by us. My parents love my younger brother is being loved by my parents. I'm writing a letter, the letter or a letter is being written by me. So here, all the words in bold are experiencing a direct action done by the subject. So they are the direct object. Now let's take a look at the Russian examples. Translations of these sentences. I'm reading a book. Я читаю книгу. He is fixing the car. Он ремонтирует машину. We're buying food. Мы покупаем еду. My parents love my younger brother. Мои родители любят моего младшего брата. I'm writing a letter. Я пишу письмо. And here you see that the first 3 have the feminine nouns and singular, so they have their own ending. Книгу, машину, еду. But if we look at the my younger brother, which is masculine animate, here we see the genitive forms that accusative basically takes when we're talking about a masculine noun that's animate, can look you in the eyes. And then the word письмо never changed from its nominative default form because masculine inanimate and neutral nouns do not change in accusative. They stay in the default nominative form. And then remember when we talked about the direct object, and in the last video when we talked about when to use the indirect object with dative, I told you that at the beginning, sometimes it's easier to just remember the verbs that go with a specific case. So here we have a list of verbs that take direct object accusative or just take accusative. I'm distinguishing between these two in case people who are really into grammar terms are watching me, and if I say that all of these take direct object, they will tell me no. The ones that have the prepositions do not take it as a direct object, but it's still accusative. I know it's confusing. Just remember, these verbs all take accusative, and again, I'm gonna tell you what they mean, and you can write it down. As I said before, I didn't want to add English translations into the form here too much because it just becomes too much on the page. Okay, благодарить, поблагодарить means to thank, and whoever we thank is accusative. Now, again, in the last video, if you watched it, you already know that all of these forms are in the imperfective and perfective, and if you want to know a little bit more, watch the previous video where I gave like a 1-minute intro into imperfective and perfective verbs. So, благодарить, поблагодарить, whoever we thank is accusative. Видеть, увидеть, whoever we see is accusative. Вспоминать, вспомнить, whoever we remember is accusative. Встречать, встретить, whoever we meet as in run into or meet as in pick up from, let's say, airport or a train station is accusative. There is a different verb, встречаться, встретиться. That one goes with the instrumental case and the preposition с, but встречать, встретить goes with accusative. And here we have 3 verbs that mean to put something into some position. Вешать, повесить is to hang something, to put something into hanging position. Класть, положить, to put something into the horizontal position. And then ставить, поставить is to put something into standing position. So all of these mean to put, and whatever we put somewhere is going to be accusative, whatever we put. So here we have the verb хотеть, захотеть is to want something. Whatever we want, if it's an item, is going to be, or a person, is going to be in accusative. And then here we have 3 verbs that are kind of, they don't mean the same, but they're in the same kind of like topic. Носить, поносить means to wear, like to wear clothes. Надевать, надеть is to put clothes on. And одевать, одеть is to dress someone, like to put clothes on somebody. So whatever we wear, whatever we put on ourselves in terms of clothes, and whoever we dress, all are accusative. Then the next 2 verbs kind of go with emotions, and in some text we see these verbs in my classes, so I always like including them into this chart, just to kind of like, so students can start wrapping their mind around these expressions early on. So сердиться, рассердиться means to be angry or to get angry at somebody, and it goes with на plus accusative. And then влюбляться, влюбиться, to fall in love with somebody, goes with в plus also accusative. And then the next one is любить, полюбить. The verb любить is pretty versatile. It means both to love, like these strong feelings and emotional connection. And it can be about people, or it can be about some items. You know, for instance, like, I so love this movie. Я так люблю этот фильм. But also the verb любить we use as in just generally liking some activity. For example, I can say я люблю читать. Or я люблю плавать. I love reading. I love swimming. But I'm not saying I'm like, I love reading or love swimming. I mean it more like I like this activity. So here we would rather, with activities, we would rather use любить, even though we're not always talking about like strong feelings. So then the next verb is спрашивать, спросить. Whoever we ask is accusative. And remember from the last video, whoever we respond to is dative. And then finally, we have 2 verbs, 2 sets of verbs, I should say, to eat and to drink. And remember how I said that usually each English verb has 2 versions of the Russian verb, one imperfective, and another one perfective, and sometimes more. Sometimes we have more perfective forms than just one. So here we can see it as есть, поесть, съесть, all mean to eat, and пить, попить, выпить also mean to eat. You can look up the differences in these tutorials for the sake of time. I'm not going into verbs too much, or if you have follow-up questions, please ask in the comments. But whatever we eat or drink is also going to be an accusative case. Now, sometimes we use it with genitive, but that's a different context. It's just like when we use a little bit of something, and it's kind of partitive genitive. But for now, just remember, like if you're eating soup, the soup's going to be accusative. If you're eating pizza, it's going to be accusative, and so on. Okay, and we're starting to look at prepositions, and you will see prepositions will appear in several contexts throughout this video. So these three prepositions always go with the accusative case, because we already know that sometimes prepositions can go with different cases depending on the context. So the preposition через means through something, like when you cross something like that. And the preposition сквозь means through as like through something. So через as through, here are examples. Я перешел через дорогу. So there was the road and I crossed the road. Я перешел через дорогу. Мы пошли через парк. Let's say this is the park, and we decided to get from here to here by going through the park. Мы пошли через парк. Now the word сквозь or through means like literally through something. So here I have two examples. Вода протекает сквозь крышу, and that's the water is seeping or leaking through the roof. That's the through. Деньги утекают сквозь пальцы. And again, this is definitely not a phrase for the beginners, but I thought it's, it's a fun phrase to know. And that means your money, literally it means your money is flowing through your fingers. And what it means is money is just disappearing, or kind of like money is slipping through your fingers. And our next preposition is несмотря на, or despite. And as I said, it's more kind of like intermediate, high, and advanced. And несмотря на goes with accusative. For example, in context like that. Несмотря на плохую погоду, мы пошли гулять. Despite the bad weather, we went for a walk. Несмотря на маленький рост, он отлично играл в баскетбол. Despite being short, he was a great basketball player. So, next set of preposition goes with destinations. And remember, we already looked at the preposition в and на when it comes to destinations. Remember, somewhere we're going to. And v is used with closed spaces, cities, countries, while na is used with open spaces, events, and islands. So here are some examples that I think would be easy. Я иду в библиотеку. I'm walking to the library, or I'm going to the library. Мы едем в Москву. We're going to Moscow. Мы приехали в Россию. We arrived, or we came to Russia. Они переезжают в Лондон. They are moving to London. And here are examples for на. Мы ходили на пляж. We went to the beach. Мы пришли на вечеринку. We came to the party. Они ездили на Гавайи. They went to Hawaii. So here, remember, we use в, на with destinations, and in these contexts, we use it with accusative. Similarly, we will use accusative with the preposition за, meaning behind, and под, meaning under, if we are talking about destinations, because behind can also mean a location. Same with under. So here we have examples. Я заехал за дом. So let's say this is the house, that's me, and я заехал за дом. I drove behind the house. Or здание, за здание, behind the building. So again, we're talking about the direction behind the building. So, and we're using accusative with that. Okay, and here's the next example for the preposition под or under. Я поставил подарок под стол. Я, masculine, put the gift underneath the table. So here is the gift, and I'm putting it underneath the table, right here. So there's the table, and I'm putting it underneath. Now, if I put it on the table, it will be я поставила подарок на стол. Horizontal space, на стол. But underneath will be под стол. Once again, if it's a destination. If it's here, that's на столе, на plus prepositional. And if it's underneath, already there, as a location, that would be pod plus instrumental, под столом. But that will be a topic for a different video. Okay, let's continue. Okay, in our next context is also the preposition в that also goes with accusative, but in a different context. Here we're talking when something happened on a specific day of the week. So whenever in English you say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and so on, in Russian we use в plus accusative. So here are the examples. В понедельник, в вторник, because of the consonant cluster, we add this additional O sound, во вторник, в четверг, в воскресенье, в среду, в пятницу, в субботу. And you can see that with the nouns, days of the week that are masculine or neutral, there are no changes from the default nominative forms. В понедельник, во вторник, в четверг, воскресенье. But with the days of the week that end in A, feminine nouns in the default nominative case, in accusative we get the U. В среду, в пятницу, в субботу. Okay, so here I also give you options how to say last or next Monday, last or next Wednesday, and so on. So прошлый and all its variations mean last, and следующий and all its variation means next. So let me read all the lasts and then all the nexts to you. В прошлый понедельник, last Monday. В прошлое воскресенье. В прошлую среду. And you can hear the form of прошлый, the adjective ending changes in accusative. Also here in English, you usually don't say on last Monday. Here in the US, you just say last Tuesday, next Wednesday, and so on. But what you're implying is really on the next Wednesday. So all of this v plus accusative applies here too. Okay, now the next. В следующий понедельник. В следующее воскресенье. В следующую среду. And of course you can apply it to other words like в следующий вторник or в следующую пятницу. Okay, so let's continue with the topic of time. And here we're going to look again at the preposition через. We already looked at it in the context of like going through something like that. But через also mean like after some period of time passed. So in English, like if it's directed in the future, you will say in a month, in a year, in a week, in a minute. And if you're describing the past, you say something like a month after he lost his job, he got a new job, something like that. So you kind of change the preposition depending whether you're talking about the future or the past, while in Russian, it will always be через plus accusative. So to say in a month, in a year, we would say через месяц, через год. After a week or in a week, a minute, a second, через неделю, минуту, секунду. And again, you can see how it changes for feminine, but not for masculine, because not animate. And here, another important thing that I want to tell you is, we just said after a month, after 1 year, after 1 minute, or like in 1 minute. As soon as you add numbers to this mix, and number is other than 1, that triggers genitive. Remember, like numbers other than 1 go with genitive, either singular or plural, and numbers overrule other contexts. So here again, just like with the forms, you know, that we looked at the, you know, the nouns chart and adjective chart, even with the context, accusative lets genitive take over sometimes when the numbers are present. So if you want to say in 2 months, 2 will trigger genitive singular. So it will be через 2 месяца. If you want to say in 5 minutes, 5 requires genitive plural. So that will be через 5 минут. Oh, I actually have examples here. So in 2 years will be через 2 года. In 5 minutes will be через 5 минут. So genitive overrules. So через means like in or after. And then to say ago, like a week ago, a year ago, a month ago, we will be using the word назад, which literally means back or backwards. And just like in English, where ago follows the time reference, in Russian, the word назад also follows the time reference, and it's an adverb that we put behind the time expression in accusative. So a week ago would be неделю назад. A year ago, год назад. A month ago, месяц назад. A minute ago, минуту, accusative, назад. And again, if they're numbers, then numbers will overrule accusative, and we'll be dealing with either genitive singular or genitive plural. Then our next context is how we say when something happens every this, every that. Like every month, every minute, every year, every Monday, every morning, and so on. Remember when we talked about dative, I told you that the preposition по and dative plural form takes care of the meaning every, but it only goes with the time of the day, like every morning, по утрам, or days of the week, every Monday, по понедельникам. But the word каждый in all its variations plus accusative case can be applied to any time reference. So here I have каждый понедельник, every Monday, каждый год, every year, каждый месяц, every month, каждую минуту, every minute, каждую неделю, каждую среду, каждое воскресенье, каждое лето. I stopped translating because I think you should know most of these words already. So here are some examples. Каждый год я езжу отдыхать. Every year I go on vacation. Каждую неделю я покупаю продукты. Every week I buy groceries. Каждое лето я езжу к бабушке. Every summer I go visit my grandma. And here, or like I go to my grandmother's place. К plus dative, к бабушке. Okay, and our next context is actually going to be part of 3 contexts. So let's take a look. And they're getting always mixed up, and I'll try my best to explain it, but it really needs to be a separate video. Remember, here I'm just giving you the kind of like a conceptual overview. It's getting difficult, but stay tuned. Okay, so here is the time reference with accusative where we use no preposition at all. Here is a very similar time reference with accusative where we use the preposition na. Both this context and this context are translated into English as for, like for a week, for a year, and I'll show you the differences in a second. And then the third one is also time reference with accusative, but with the preposition za. Now this one is not going to be for a period of time, it's like in a period of time, and you can already see if you're reading that it signifies achievement. So here, the very first one I talked to you about is no preposition plus accusative. So it's something is lasting a specific period of time. Then the one with na, something, and you can see I have else in the percentage, something else is happening for a specified period of time. And then the last one, something is achieved in a specific period of time. So let's take a look at the examples for the first of these 3 contexts. Я живу здесь уже месяц. I've been living here for a month. So remember how I said something is lasting. So here the action of living here in that place has been lasting for a month. In Russian, no preposition, just put the word month into the accusative case. I don't know what happened with my computer here. So for example, я живу здесь уже месяц. Я живу здесь уже день. I've been living here for a day. Я живу здесь уже год. I've been living here for a year. I've been living here for a week. Я живу здесь уже неделю. Я жду тебя только минуту. I've been waiting for you just for a minute. Let's, for instance, somebody is late and they're like, oh my God, have you been waiting for a long time? And you're like, да, я тебя жду только минуту. Just 1 minute. So I've been waiting. That process of waiting has been only happening for a week. And I'm sorry, a minute. And here you can see the word whole, like целый, целую, and all other variations, весь, всю, and they mean the whole, like the whole day or the whole week, whole year. And they're synonymous. Весь, всю are a little bit more colloquially, I would say, and целый is a little bit kind of like higher register, but we use them as in standard Russian all the time, both interchangeably. And I just want to say that the forms for весь and all of its variations are at the bottom of my adjectives chart. At the bottom of my adjectives chart, and remember I explained in the video specifically about this chart why it is there. Okay, but when a specific action is lasting for a specific period of time, we can easily add this like whole. Я живу здесь уже целый месяц. I've been living here for a whole month. Я писал это письмо всю неделю. I've been writing this letter for a week. Again, the writing was happening for a week. So commit this to your memory and understanding. And now let's compare it with the next one. When something else is happening for some specified period of time, we use на plus accusative. Let's take a look at the examples. Я приеду только на день. I'll come for a day. Я уеду отдыхать на неделю. I'll go on vacation for a week. Он взял мой компьютер на неделю. He took my computer for a week. Now, the actions here are приезжать, уезжать, взять, to arrive or to come somewhere or to leave somewhere or to take something. These actions are not lasting a day, a week, or another week. They're not. I'm just saying I did that, so something else would be happening for a week, for a day, for a year, for whatever. So when I say я приеду только на день, I'm saying I will come for a day, meaning I will come and stay for a day. When we say я уеду отдыхать на неделю, I'm saying I will leave on vacation for a week. What will be lasting a week is me having a vacation, not me leaving. Он взял мой компьютер на неделю. He took my computer for a week. Taking the computer did not last a week. It's that him having my computer will be lasting for a week. So here, in this context, hopefully I'm explaining it, in a way that's easy to understand the difference between the two. Here we use на plus accusative. So in here we have на день, на месяц, на год, на неделю, на минуту, на секунду, and again, as soon as we have numbers, they will override accusative. Same thing here. As soon as we have numbers, it will override accusative and go into genitive singular or plural. Okay, and here I have the last one, and something will be achieved in some period of time, за plus accusative. So here we have some kind of accomplishment, and we emphasize it. Я подготовлюсь к экзамену за день. I'll get ready for this exam in a day. Total accomplishment, underscored with за plus accusative. If I say I've been preparing or I will be preparing for this exam for a whole day, that would be just я буду готовиться к экзамену целый день. Just accusative. But if I want to underscore my achievement of getting it done in one day, that will be за plus accusative. Я подготовлюсь к экзамену за день. Я напишу реферат за неделю. I'll write this paper in a week. Я выучу 20 слов за минуту. I will learn 20 words in 1 minute. Again, that's an accomplishment. And as before, whenever we add numbers into it, like I'll learn 20 minutes in 5 minutes, that will override our accusative, so it will be genitive plural. Я выучу 20 слов за 5 минут. Okay, so hopefully that was useful. Oh, it's getting so long. Okay, let's continue. So next one is actually easy. Actually, all of the other contexts will be kind of easy. When playing a sport, it's one of the first contexts that we even learn no matter who teaches Russian in which textbook, it comes up very early on, because games that we play, it's a really fun topic to discuss, and it's easy. It's just accusative. And most of the sports are actually masculine, so they don't even change at all. Играть в футбол, to play soccer or football. Играть в баскетбол, to play basketball. Играть в хоккей, to play hockey. Я очень люблю играть в бадминтон. I love playing badminton. Он научился играть в хоккей за год. Here I put in за plus accusative. He learned how to play hockey in 1 year. So this one is easy. Then the next one I added because it's a pretty simple one, but in English you use a different verb. When you get on a vehicle, like I got on the bus, you actually use the verb to get on a train, to get on a plane. In Russian, we use the verb садиться, сесть, which means to sit down. So literally we're saying we're sitting down into the bus, into the train, into the plane, and so on. So we say в plus accusative. Садиться в автобус, в такси, садиться на поезд, на самолет. For example, я уже сел в автобус, скоро буду. I, male, already got on the bus. I'll be there soon, like wherever you're waiting for me. Через минуту я сяду на поезд. In a minute, I'll get on the train. And here I created this form, or like this chart, such a long time ago. I don't remember why I included some examples, but here I have an interesting example with this to get on. It's like a metaphorical expression, сесть на шею. And that's kind of like to use somebody, to exploit somebody. So here's an example. Он сел жене на шею сразу после свадьбы. Basically, right after the wedding, he just like pushed all the responsibilities on his wife and he was just relaxing. So literally, шея is our neck. So he sat on her neck right after the wedding. That's how we say it. Okay. Then the next context is, I think, a good one, and it's easy one, and you can use it, when you communicate with people. Russians love raising toasts, and I have a separate channel where I talk about Russian culture, and I still have to record this video where I talk about the traditions of toasting, but it is very, very important. Russians love toasts. And when you're toasting to someone or something, you would be using за plus accusative. For example, to say, I raise this toast to you, to our beloved mom, to health, to Maxim. We will be using all of these words in bold and accusative. Я поднимаю этот тост за тебя. Я поднимаю этот тост за нашу любимую маму. Я поднимаю этот тост за здоровье. Я поднимаю этот тост за Максима. Okay, so за plus accusative with toasting. And then something that we know already, to say someone's name, whoever's name it is gonna be accusative. So for example, here we have, I'm not gonna go into it that much because I went a lot into it in the previous video on accusative. So here we have меня зовут Мария, мою сестру зовут Настя, моего брата зовут Коля. So whoever's name it is, it's gonna be accusative. Now, the names themselves are gonna be nominative. But remember when we talked about it at the beginning of this marathon, I said, oh, I have to tell you, as you advance in the Russian language, you probably will see also instrumental forms here sometimes. So here are some examples. Usually instrumental forms are kind of more literary, especially if you start reading older books, you will see it, and usually appear more in the past and in the future. But nominative can be used throughout all of the contexts here, past, present, and future. Just sometimes instrumental makes an appearance. So for example, if you want to say her name was Katya, you can say ее звали Катя, or ее звали Катей. So Katya instrumental form will be kind of like, old-fashioned, but still sometimes used. Or my grandpa's name was Yuri or Юра. Моего дедушку звали Юра. Or моего дедушку звали Юрой. Юра. Nominative, Юрой, instrumental. For the future, we switch to назвать, like to give a name to somebody. Ребенка назовут Вадим. Ребенка назовут Вадимом. Вадим. Nominative, Вадимом, instrumental. So once again, that's not for beginners, but just keep in mind that some things are not as straightforward sometimes. Finally, I give you some expressions that are kind of interesting, and we use accusative with these expressions. So let me show you the expressions in English first. So here we have same height as somebody. Whoever that somebody is, it will be in accusative. So same height as mom, mom will be accusative. Same personality as grandma. Again, grandma will be accusative, and it will be mostly positive. Sometimes you can say it in a negative way, but mostly positive. Same personality as dad. It will be a different expression, and that one usually is used mostly negative. I'll show you in a second. And about looks, looks like grandpa, looks like mom, looks like the older brother. That person who somebody looks like is going to be accusative. Okay, let's take a look. So same height as mom will be ростом с. There's another kind of like chunk with the preposition с. С маму. Ростом с. Use it as a chunk. Don't worry about the preposition с. С маму. Ростом с маму. Ростом с папу. Ростом с брата. So характером в бабушку. So here it's like характер is the personality that we have. And we say, oh, мой сын характером в бабушку, в дедушку, в меня, в отца. So that is mostly positive. We're saying характер as actually an instrumental, but в plus accusative. But there is a similar expression, and it's using весь for male or вся for female, and again, the forms are on my adjective endings list. And that's when we say весь в папу, вся в маму, весь в бабушку, весь в дядю. Here, sometimes we can use it positively. Most of the time we say, oh, ты весь в отца. You're like just like your father, or something like that. And that is usually kind of like more negative. Or, so характером в отца. Ой, он у меня характером в отца. His personality same as his father's, mostly positive. And весь в отца, usually, not always, but usually a little bit negative. And the last one, похож or похожа, похожий на plus accusative. Whoever we look like, похож на брата, на маму, на сестру, на прадедушку, прабабушку, looks like somebody, and that somebody is gonna be accusative. Okay, we are done with the accusative case context. Now, remember how I say, even though we covered a lot, it's still not all of the contexts or all of the verbs that you will see accusative being used with. And feel free to add something that I didn't mention in the comments. And since this video is already getting long, remember, practice what I taught you, just like select a context and add your own examples and put the accusative parts in caps, whether you're putting it in English or in Russian, and I'll give you my feedback. For the next time, look through the context for the instrumental case, and that's what we will be discussing. Okay, keep learning Russian. Пока-пока.
If you like it, please click like. If it's useful, drop a line. If you love it, hit subscribe, like me, подпишись и комментарий.